Hello, this is Ashee from Crafting with Ashee and welcome to this card making tutorial. Here is the lovely card we've made today featuring this pleat feature, focal feature in the middle of the card. And you can see it has a lot of dimension in it, has double dimension actually. I love it. Now that was Secret Sea and Timid Tiger was the paper. This time we're going to use a slightly different colour variation. So here I've got my piece of Secret Sea card base, which is standard A6 card base, as an A4 sheet cut in half and then folded in half. And then I've got a piece of basic white that's slightly smaller that I'm going to put in my insert. Now I should say all the measurements and the supply list will all be found in the description box below, so don't worry about that. And here you can see I've got my pieces for my front of my card. So this is going to be strawberry slush that we've got here. And I'm going to mount it to a piece of basic white, same size as the insert, and then we're going to stick this on the front of our card. And then we'll be ready to start with our pleat feature. Okay. And these are a lovely new in colours that just featured now, beginning of May. Secret Sea is one of them, as is Strawberry Slush and Timid Tiger that we saw in the previous card. Right, so now I've got my piece there of my designer series paper, and we're going to do a little bit of magic scoring. Now my piece here should measure 4 inches by 6 inches, and on the long side, the 6 inch side, we're going to do some scoring. A bit of funny scores. So I've got here that I'm going to be scoring at 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 2 inches, 2.5 inches, 3.5, 4 inches, 5 and 5.5 inches. But as I said, don't try and write all of that down. You'll find everything on the blog post, and you can find the link to that, as I said, in the description box below. And as these four are almost if you've ever made mini albums, you'll recognise we're almost making little pairs of hinges as we go along. Right, so now I've done all of our scoring, and I found it easier with those scoring just to use my trimmer. Now I'm going to get my bone folder out, and we're going to fold on all of our score lines. So let's start to do this. And you can see here from my original there, my my template, how we're folding here. So we're going to do a valley fold and then a mountain. You can see here we started off with a mountain and then a valley, and we finish off with a valley. So we start with a mountain, finish with a valley, just like that, you see. So everything marries up perfectly, and then if you put it together, you can see we've got our beautiful fan fold, and you can see. Now I want to give this a bit of dimension, and we want to stick all of this together. So in order to do this, you could just stick it with glue, just basic glue, but I'm going to use our what do you call these things? Oh, my words were not with me tonight. My foam strips, this is it. I'm doing this voiceover at about 10 p.m, so I'm not very much with it. And you can see I'm just putting them all in these little grooves. I'm moving along. It's easier just to watch, I think, than try and explain. And then here in the last little groove, and I'm going to do just a bit more there and cut off the edge there, just like this. And I'm going to take the backings off these pieces, and we're going to start to fold these pieces in, as you can see here, just from the front. Pleat the fold just like that. Now as you can see, there's a little bit hanging off the edge. I'm just going to cut those off. Now you can still see you've still got gaps here, and now you could just glue that down with some Tombow or something, but I'm going to put some more adhesive strips into that, so I'm going to make it really chunky and really dimensional, which really gives a really nice effect. I think it all holds together really nicely. You still get the pleat effect, but everything isn't flopping about in the same way. and it's really nice and sturdy. So last but not least, here in the last little bit and a bit more, there we go. I'm going to fold all of that down, give it a bit of a press so everything adheres nicely, and you can see there how nice that looks, and also how much dimension you've got there, but also how sturdy it really is. So I'm really happy with that. I'm just seeing here how much far it measures. It's about 2.5 inches by 4 inches. So I'm going to see if that's the same as I had before. It is. So now I'm going to get the scrap of basic white cardstock, and I want to mount it on this so that I have something for it to, it's going to be easier for me to mount it on this and then mount it on my piece of Secret Sea. It'll just be easier for me to manipulate. So I'm going to put a lot of time on the back here. We've got a lot of dimension, a lot of folding going on, and then I'm going to just put it down that piece of basic white, and anything that hangs over the edge or I haven't properly, obviously haven't done things properly, measured very well, I'm just going to cut off with my scissors, and we will be none the wiser. There we go. Isn't that lovely? Just give it a, make sure I've trimmed it all out. Lovely. Right. So now I've got a piece here of Secret Sea cardstock, and I'm going to trim this, I think, to measure 2.5 inches by 4.5 inches, whereas my basic white I should have said was 2 by 4, I think, and that gives us a little bit of a nice border all the way around. My measurements seem to be a bit off today. Obviously wasn't very with it, but won't be any the wiser on the completed card. And I'm just going to line it up on 3 corners, and then I'm going to take my scissors and just chop off any excess so that it's nicely matted. There you go. Right, let's start to make our card. I'm going to put this on the back of our, on the front of our card, just for some more tumbo, and you can see all the dimension we have now. And I do love Secret Sea and Strawberry Slush together. I think they really make each other pop really nicely. So now I'm going to work on my sentiments. I've got a scrap here of basic white cardstock. This is the Simply Said stamp set, and I'm going to use here the one that says Happy Birthday. I'm going to use my grid paper to line it up. Pick that up with my block, and then we're going to stamp in Secret Sea just here on the bottom. Lovely jubbly. That looks good to me. So give that a bit of a clean using the simple chamois. And just writing everything up, put that back in this little home. It's a very well loved and very well used stamp set, I should say. So we're just going to trim this out using our trimmer. I always somehow like it with the sentiment on my left when I'm trimming, just the way it works best for me. And then just using that out, trimming it quite close. Happy with that. Oh, no, obviously I wasn't, so I went in with the scissors as well. Just a scrap there. There we go. Not very much at all, but makes all the difference, or so I thought at the time at least. Right, bit of tumble on the back of that, and we're going to mat it on some scrap of Secret Sea cardstock. And I love how everything coordinates here, the stamp sets, well, more than that, the colours, ink pads and the paper. It's just, and the cardstock, it's just great. Push that down, give it a real good press because there's so much dimension below it, so you don't want it to go anywhere. There we go. And look what I've done there. Perfect, not an idiot. So easy solve before it stuck totally down. And now everything's fine. Oh, that was a good save, wasn't it? Right, now I'm trying to decide what I wanted, how I want to embellish this. I think it would have looked good just like this, but I decided I want to have a few little flowers, and these are the flowers from the same designer series paper. And I'm just going to fussy cut a few to decorate here and there. Now, I'm not a great fussy cutter, so please don't say anything. I try my best, but I'm not the best. I just don't have the patience for fussy cutting, I have to say. You do need to be patient, and unfortunately that's not one of my virtues. So I'm just going to cut a few little flowers here. I try my best, move the paper, not the scissors, and try and remember to keep the scissors at about a 45-degree angle. And that one I quite often forget, though I do move the paper always. Right, last flower out. I always think it's best to design in multiples of 3, or odd numbers at least. It just seems to work better. It's more visually appealing to the eye. It's just one of those design principles that I think really does work. So I'm going to just finish off with that flower. Right, had enough of the fussy cutting. Put that back in the scrap pile, and let's do a little bit of decorating. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the back here, if my glue wants to work. Let's stick that down, and then a bit more glue here on this one, and then I'm just trying to decide where I want the last little flower to go, like that. Lovely. Now I'm going to get some rhinestones out. I'm just going to use these for the flower centre. Now if you can see some of the flower hanging over the side, and there's a lot of dimension there, you can just add a couple of dimensionals underneath it so it's the same level. I haven't done that yet, but there you go, there are 2 cards. So I hope you enjoyed this card making tutorial featuring the pleat technique. All supplies of course are from Stampin' Up. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give it a like. Until next time, enjoy being creative. Bye.